self-reliance is something that can lead to greater freedom within our own lives so that we can be of service. And I wanted to ask you, in school, you're a musician, you're an artist, you're a philosopher, you cultivated your mind and your soul and your spirit. However, given kind of the framework of the educational system, it kind of tracked you in certain ways. So given your experience going through 4 years of college and then coming out of college and starting your career, what would you tell yourself as a freshman in college to help guide the process of choosing courses?
Interestingly enough, I feel like I'd want to go back just a little bit further. What's interesting about my path since I was, that age is like, at that point I was an atheist, like I had no belief structure or any of that stuff other than I want to investigate truth. I want to learn more about reality. And that's how I went about everything I did. Well, my experience, in the subsequent years, 12 years now, I've been a Baha'i. There's an interesting, practice that has been, encouraged over and over again within the culture, which is a year of service before you go into higher education, or at some point before you, kind of go into full-on adulthood, which I think is really fascinating and really helpful. I believe if I had the opportunity and the option and the encouragement that for a year, I will serve some community somewhere in the world. Let me pick a place, pick a path of service, and just work on helping a community out for a year. And within that space, it's almost like an internship, but it's really just like a volunteer period of time where you help others do something that they need help with, whatever it is. It may be a shot in the arm to a community who needs some corn grown or anything, to watching kids, etc. I was 17 when I went to freshman year. So I was still a real young buck. And I feel like at 17, when you have a little bit of space to really think through what it is that you want to contribute to humanity, and you dedicate a year to really thinking clearly about that, that kind of sets you up for being more deliberate about the decision of what major do I want to go into, what field do I want to go into, even what school. Because you may learn in that year that there are certain things about the financial sector that you don't really like anymore, and you might want to go into agriculture. And it gives you a space to practically work in the field a little bit, or to practically work in such a way that you have time to assess and to think about what you want to do. So it's an interesting practice that I've been exposed to over the years that I feel would have changed a lot about how I would have made decisions. I think that ultimately finding people who are really good at what they do and asking them why they chose that path, getting kind of some mentorship as part of my experience, that would have really been helpful, because ultimately, my college career was kind of like this spider web of different, ooh, that's interesting, let me try that. Okay, some psychology, some philosophy, some media arts, some, this, and anthropology. So I was kind of branching out all these different directions because I was just trying to figure out, what am I here for? So I believe that some training earlier on in developing a sense of purpose, why am I here, would have been much healthier for me to approach higher education. Whether or not I even need to go to higher education would have been in question there. But definitely, for sure, putting it together, saying, okay, so what is my purpose for being here? Is it to create art that elevates other souls? Is it to produce media that causes people to think? Is it to, be involved in theater, or is it for me to be, doing research and some scientific practice? But whatever the case may be, really going forward purposefully, because I believe my path has been very kind of search-oriented rather than purpose-oriented. And there's nothing wrong with both, but having a balance to where you actually start to focus in and hone in as you grow older and as you move through your education.
which are rapid enough to be sensed by the ear.